One of my favorite things about digital marketing and working leads is when you learn how to work them, you understand the consumer, where they're at, they hit your database. Once you understand that, you have a scalable business model because you know if I spend X amount of dollars in marketing, I'm going to get X amount of leads. If I have X amount of conversations using X approach, I'll have X results. Rinse and repeat. And that is how I have a team of 80 agents. I know interest rates have dropped and a lot of my agents have gotten very busy as a result of that. Fantastic news. And so what I was mentioning when we first started was some of my agents, actually one of them maybe 3 hours ago was just calling me. You know, she's got 4 closings in the next 2 weeks and she's having trouble balancing the closings, business development, how to manage it all. Fantastic problem, but it is a problem. And then the other thing I said is that with lowering rates, something we've been doing with our seller leads is reaching out to them and saying, hey, rates have dropped. If you're considering moving in the next 6 months, we should talk because the impact on your home purchase will probably be pretty significant. Notice that we didn't call our seller leads and say, hey, rates have dropped, you'll probably get more buyers, which is true. Rates have dropped, they probably will get more buyers. You've got to recognize that by leading with that to the wrong seller that wasn't motivated to sell right now is not going to hurry them up. They're not going to be pushed into disrupting their life. Now, if they're already like on the fence with selling, like they're ready to go, yeah, hey, rates are dropping, now's the time to list, that would work. But for most people that are telling you, thanks for the CMA, I'm not quite ready to list yet, normally the blocker is where they're going to go. When you focus your outreach on where they're going to go and say, hey, rates have dropped, where you're planning on going might have just gotten cheaper, that's going to get their antenna up. Like that's the secret sauce. Being in touch with the consumer, being in touch with your clients and understanding what they need and what they don't need. And a lot of your follow-up, if you're being honest, most real estate agents, their follow-up is very self-interested. Hey, did you find anything yet? Hey, you ready to sell yet? I'm literally checking to see if I can make some money. But it doesn't resonate with them. Does it work sometimes? Yes. Just by the sheer volume of calls and attempts, sometimes you'll get somebody. But generally speaking, being in touch with where the consumer is at in the process, that's the secret sauce. Because you can't motivate anybody unless you know what they're motivated by. I happen to be a student of people. It's part of what's gotten me. It's elevated me in my career. And so when marketing companies or businesses ask for my help, I get inside the head of the person they're trying to reach. It's part of my secret sauce. It's part of my niche in the industry. And I'm telling you guys, most homeowners, generally speaking, are more interested in talking about where they're going than to a closer selling their home. And I know it's weird. Meskula has hired me to talk about my book, to teach you how to talk to middle and top of funnel leads. So you're buying leads that are asking for their home value. And here I am telling you to talk about their home purchase. I get it. It's like, what the heck, man? Like, can we just talk about the CMA? Well, the consumer doesn't want to talk about the CMA, not all the time. And we CMA them to death. Can I drop it off? Can I staple it? Can I collate it? I got a pretty folder for it. Can I come over? Can we review it? You want me to update it? I got to look at the house to do a good job on it. And sometimes that works. I'm not saying never bring any of that up. In fact, I would tell you to start there because that's how they met you. Like the whole impetus of the conversation is the CMA. It's just that for your nurture CMAs, the people that really were on the fence, that's not going to bring you home. That's not going to get the sale. Getting the sale is going to be derived from being relevant to them. For most people, that's thinking about where they're going. Has anybody this week had any good or bad conversations with leads that you want to bounce off me and we can kind of hash through and see if there's maybe a different strategy behind it?
Yeah, Barry, I just want to start off by saying that I've been implementing some of the things you've been telling me and they've been working so good. I've been implementing that strategy where I tell them, hey, I have a sellers program where we walk through your home like a buyer and tell you what needs to be done in order for you to increase the value when you are ready to list. It works perfectly. I've had over the last 2 weeks about 4 in-person buyer/CMA consultations.
That's
so huge. I want to ask you about. Oh, thank you. I want to ask you about what are the next steps. So, initially, I tell these people, "Hey, let me walk through your home." So I quickly go to their house, a 10-minute, walk through, build rapport, and then I leave. I don't give them a price. I have a CMA with me, but I don't give them a CMA. Then I tell them, hey, I have a CMA ready. I have everything ready. Why don't we meet up again and I'll give you a price. Then I go to their house again. So this is the second time. I give them a CMA, I kind of gauge their interest where they're at. All 4 leads have told me they're not ready yet, but they will be. Some of them feel like they're giving me excuses. I don't know what it is. So now the thing is, what are the next steps? Like, how often do I follow up with these leads? Do I go to their house again, or do I just keep on adding value and hoping that one day they will go with me?
Yeah. Well, first, let me just say, it's as a teacher, as a mentor, it's so fun when people execute on the information. So congratulations to you on doing that. Let me do some data first. Let me do some research. So of the 4 people that you met with over the last couple of weeks to do the walkthrough, how many of them said yes to the second appointment?
All of them.
All of them.
All 4.
Okay,
I met all 4, yeah.
All right. So then the second appointment, the impetus of the second appointment is going over the CMA. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
All right. So you go over the CMA, and when you're finished going over the reasoning behind the value, and you've taught them a little bit, do you what do you say when you're done? Like, what's your close at that moment?
Well, before I even get to the close, they have given me hints that they're not ready to sell yet. Yeah. So they've given me those hints, but I'm there just to provide value and give them a CMA, right? And to build that rapport. And I'm hoping that I can shift their timeline from, the 3 to 6 months over to sign on the dotted line now. But they've all
so you go over the CMA and you say, all right, well, there you go. There's your CMA, and you shake their hands more or less and go on their way.
No, once I give them CMA, I said, hey, then I go over my marketing plan. Part of my marketing plan is a 10-day home selling system. So I walk them through how that works. And then I pull out my calendar and I say, well, in order for us to start this, we would have to get the photos taken, January 29th. And then we would have to do the open house on February the 6th. How do those dates sound? And then they start thinking, oh, this is coming up. So then, then they're like, oh, we're not ready yet. Give us, X amount of time. Yeah. That's kind of how I do it. Yeah.
And how, do you talk much about where they're going?
I do, yes. I show them. I also bring a list of properties that they would like to move into. Just kind of get their, interest up.
And when you show them those properties, like what kind of, because really where I'm going here is, now you met them, you did the walkthrough the way that I said to do it. It worked, and you built enough rapport in that first meeting that you actually got a second appointment, which is a big deal. And now during that second appointment, you've elected to go over marketing, right? You're like, you're moving through the logical progression. And like, to me, after I go over the value of the home, I would prioritize where they're going and then go over marketing. The reason why I would do that is going over marketing is assuming that they're mentally prepared to talk about the process of listing and selling their home. And some of them probably are. They're probably interested in the process. But I think that your time that you have with them is better served to surface their motivation, not just what they're saying about why they want to move, but like really getting into the weeds. Like, so they might say, yeah, I want a better commute. I want to be closer to my work. I'm tired of driving all the time. And so you might just assume that they're ready to go right now, and come to find out they're waiting for a scheduled pay raise in 5 months before they're wanting to move. And so you're going down the line assuming, man, they want to get a better, they want to move, but they're not ready yet. And because you haven't surfaced what's motivating the decision to do it now or not do it now, you're kind of flying blind. You're hoping that something you say resonates with them so that they're like, man, I'm so glad you went over this. Can we sell right now? And you might be doing this, but I would encourage you to do more discovery around their motivation. You said they hinted that they're not ready. And when you hear those hints, you need to file it away. Candidly, most people don't wake up in the morning and say, I think I'm going to sell my house this week. they don't do that, right? It's a big deal. It's like, I don't know about y'all, but top 3 worst things is moving. I hate it. I hate moving. I can't stand it. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So, well, let me ask you, when I say about prioritizing, talking about the transition to their next home before going over the marketing, do you have any questions about that? Or maybe you're already doing it some? Or?
My number one goal is always to figure out their motivation even before. Like the reason why I go for the first meeting is to just have a conversation with them and figure out their motivation. Mm-hmm. And then during the second meeting, before I even start the CMA presentation, I go over their motivation again to kind of see where things are at. And it seems like these 4 leads, they are genuinely not ready to sell right now because of their circumstances. And they do need at least another month. And some might need a month to another 3-4 months. Genuinely, that's how I feel. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
Well, yeah. I mean, a month away, that's fantastic. I mean, that's like, to me, that's perfect, and so if you're telling me that a significant number of these 4 people that you just met are hoping to move in the next month, now you need to be thinking value proposition over the next 4 weeks. So some examples. Let's say when you met, you noticed and referenced the fact that the landscaping needed a little bit of love, just as an example. Hey, wait a week. Hey, Mr. Smith, I was thinking about you, and I wanted to share the number of a landscaper that I trust, right? When you have 5 minutes, everything you do from a value add proposition always needs a segue to a phone call. So, hey, Mr. Smith, I've got this landscaper that I think would really help you with the curb appeal of the property. When you have 5 minutes, give me a call. They call you. Yeah, look, your yard was beautiful. I talked about it a little bit as a great selling point. I was thinking with the bushes, getting them shaped, if you don't want to mess with it, I've got a guy. Is that something that interests you? Yes, no, like whatever. You're having a constructive conversation. Looks like we've got a mic that is, there we go. You're having a constructive conversation about the process without asking, where are you at with the process? You're action oriented. That's one type of constructive follow-up is service-based contractors, staging companies, anything in that arena of helping to prep. It always needs to be, when you have 5 minutes, give me a call, because you're always wanting to have that conversation. I can't stress that enough. Everybody that's listening, don't just send them an email with a list of contractors. While, yes, that list of contractors is valuable, ultimately, they're going to use you because of the relationship that you form. So everything needs to segue to talking to them either on the phone or in person. Another great follow-up is market shifts. Hey, there's a new home listed in your area. Want to strategize with you. When you got 5 minutes, give me a call. Or, hey, do you have 5 minutes? A new home was just listed in your area. I wanted to chat with you about it. We could even go look at it if you want.
But you're texting them these things?
You could, yeah. I would probably lead with a text. If they're texters, like if they're not, then don't. Okay. But
and just give them a call if they're
if they're phone call people, give them a call. Yeah. I just found most people, if you just dangle like what you're trying to talk about, like let me know when you have 5 minutes to chat. A busy person is going to really appreciate that and accommodate you. But that's me. Like, and also I live in Virginia Beach. Where do you live?
Sorry, British Columbia.
Okay, so I don't know. Is it different there, or is
a little bit, yeah. I mean, from my experience, even some of these leads, when I text them, they might not even call me back. So then, then I have to call. So then I have to chase them a bit.
Right, and the reason why I asked that question is like mentors in the real estate industry, they tend to use their market as like the foundation of what they're teaching. but like we're dealing with communication human to human, and that changes dramatically in different cultures throughout the United States and in Canada. So like my goal is to get them on the phone. If you have a way that you know your instincts are to get them on the phone, do it. I just want you to avoid giving them everything to the point that they don't need to talk to you. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so those of you that just jumped on, we've got 4 seller leads that, you use the approach of doing the walkthrough, quick walkthrough, want to look at it, make sure the repairs are straight, you're not fixing anything, also want to just nail down the CMA. Then he schedules a second appointment, which that takes some moxie. Like that's legit. Like I didn't even say to do that. So good for you on doing that. And he's finding that nobody's really ready. But honestly, man, if somebody says they're not really ready and they're a month out, like to me, I'm going home thinking they're ready. Like a month out, like I'm good with that. Like that's straight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't, anything else is a unicorn. If you go to their house and they're like, yeah, can we put a sign in tomorrow? Like we can't depend on that. Like that's a unicorn lead. Like, but a month out, like you're good. Contractor conversations, market update conversations. And then once you get a week and a half to 2 weeks out, that's when you start talking about, hey, want to make sure my photographer has time. We got to book it in advance. I was wondering, if, I know you said you're a month out, so that puts us in February 12th. You okay if I book it for that week? I mean, I can put the deposit down. We can have a gentleman's handshake and, I'm okay with that. I don't mind doing that. I just want to know and make sure that you're good with that time frame and you feel like you're moved out. If we have to move the date, we can, right? And so I would say that's only failed me once in a 25-year career where I paid up front. We're talking about a couple $100. I'm not talking about thousands, where I did the gentleman's handshake. The person decided not to sell anymore. I mean, what are you going to do, right? No one's ever with a gentleman's handshake approach where, are you okay with I prepay this? Like we're locked in. I'm going to trust you because now I'm spending money for you. I've never had anybody say, well, I'm going to use a different agent now. Like, so that's why I do that, is because they're getting to the bottom of the funnel now. They're starting to tell their friends and family, like, yeah, I'm finally listing. And that's when everybody knows an agent. They do. Like, oh, my cousin, my brother, your uncle, the guy across the street. Like, everybody's suddenly a realtor. So you got to stay really close to them that last month.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Almost at least once a week, touch, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And notice it's all value-based, process-based communication. None of it is how's it going. I would reserve the how's it going when you really have nothing else. Because honestly, as an adult, I really don't want to be checked on. Like, it's just not, I want to know I'm thought about, but the professionals that I really appreciate working with are the ones that are thinking for me. Heck, even waiters and waitresses. Like, I would much rather a waiter or a waitress come to my table and see that my glass of water is empty and pour the water than ask me, would you interrupt me in the middle of a conversation and say, would you like some water? I mean, I'm not rude when they do that, just so you all know. But in my head, I'm like, why don't you just pour the water? Like, if I ask for lemons for the first cup of water, don't you think I want lemons for the next one? I don't tip them bad if they don't do it. I'm just saying, like, why? Like, that's the type of professional you need to be. Assumptive in nature, an assumptive vibe, assuming you guys are working together, and you use phrases like, well, my other clients appreciated it when insert blank, right? You're taking ownership of them as your clients right out of the gate. So does that give some insight into what you should be doing on these 4?
It does, Barry. It does.
Good. Fantastic. One of my favorite things about digital marketing and working leads is when you learn how to work them, you understand the consumer, where they're at, they hit your database. Once you understand that, you have a scalable business model because if I spend X amount of dollars in marketing, I'm going to get X amount of leads. If I have X amount of conversations using X approach, I'll have X result. Rinse and repeat. And that is how I have a team of 80 agents. Because I've been obsessed with this since 2016. All right. What other questions? That was a great question. Great dialogue there.
Hey, Barry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If you can hear me. Two things. So how do you handle this when you get to the point and you think they're about ready to list, and then something? Well, we have to pray about it, and and then I know that's always like pumping the brakes. As soon as anybody throws out that or religion, you're like, okay, I got to take a step back and give them a little space, and then you're calling back and they're kind of ghosting you. I mean, hey, what did Buddha tell you that really had you pump the brakes?
My phone broke up. Can you say that one more time?
Well, okay. So you get to the point they're ready to list, and then they give you the objection as, we have to pray about it and we'll get back to you. That's always in my experience. I have to pump the brakes, and then, a handful of times they don't get back to you. So how, I guess, do you work with that objection, or, validate it and move forward?
Yeah, no, it's hard. What I would say, with all objections, I want you to come from curiosity. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that you're praying about it. I'm sure that helps give you a lot of peace. What does that process look like for you?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like that.
Going, right? Yeah. And first of all, they're going to be excited to share their faith with you. Yeah. And they're going to be excited to share the intricacies of that. And do your best to be authentic to you. They'll appreciate it, right? So if you're not a religious person, for example, just say, okay, you know what, that's interesting. I don't come from that background, so this is really good information for me. How can I serve you through this process? So after they've taken time to explain it, you're trying to integrate. And guys, as a general rule, when you get objections, you press into them. Tell me more. Help me understand. What does that look like? And then as they advise you of what that looks like, then I want you to try to integrate to the best of your ability into that process. So for example, let's use a different one. I got to talk to my wife. I'm so glad to hear that your spouse is a part of the decision-making process. What I normally do in that situation is I like to meet with the two of you so that I can address all your questions together. Do you have a time that the two of us can meet, right? So I affirmed, I acknowledged, I pressed in. With the faith one, it's a little bit different because it's like it's them and God. So the way I'm pressing into it is to ask how I can press into it. How can I be a part of that process with you? What does that look like? And you'll probably, if I'm being transparent with you, you're probably going to hear them hem and haw a little bit. They're going to say, well, you just pray until you know. Let's just say that's what they say. Say, okay. As far as praying until you know, do you have a point in time where you've got to, you feel like you just got to make a decision, the best decision you can? So again, you're just doing discovery around the objection to just see you're listening and looking for opportunities to inject yourself in them.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I do have one other question, going back to what you said a few minutes ago about the, getting everything locked and loaded and just, I guess, ultimately not getting, the listing, giving them a little bit of space over the weekend, whatever the case may be. And then, lo and behold, well, yeah, gosh, I found out that my wife's cousin just got her license and I think we're going to go with her. My response would be, well, I've been in the business 20 years. Your wife's cousin just got her license. Don't you want somebody that knows what the hell they're doing to sell your, $1.8 million house? And I guess that would be a snarky response, but is there a more tactful way to do that?
Yeah, there is actually. Nothing you ever say is going to trump the relationship that they have with their friend or family member.
Sure.
And so what you want to do is you want to first acknowledge the fact that relationship to them emotionally is more important than you. And the way I always would do it, you can do this however you want, but the way I always do is this. Hey, if you're going to get the stink eye at Thanksgiving, if you use me, I get it. I understand. Like, it's not worth making your cousin or your dad angry at you for not using them. However, I want to really empower you for a moment. By the way, empowerment is a big buzzword in our culture. I want to empower you for a moment. There's this subtle dynamic in the real estate community where, for some reason, people don't think about themselves and the fact that they're selling the largest asset of their life. They're thinking about their agent being mad at them for not using them to get a commission. And I really just want to empower you to be appropriately selfish right now. You really should be focused on your interests. What I typically like to do in this situation, when I have a family member that, yes, you're going to get a stink eye at Thanksgiving, I really want to help. And so what I tend to try to do is I'll bring that other agent in the process, give them a small referral fee. Give them a referral fee and let them be a part of our discussions, let them feel heard, but then you don't get shafted in selling the largest asset of your life and realizing that you made a fundamental misstep and you just lost $50,000 as a result. This way, everybody wins. Do you think there's a good time that the three of us could get on a call? This crushes, by the way. I've never had anybody say no. Never. Because deep down, they know you're right.
Sure. That makes sense. Nice.
Perfect. Well, we are a little bit over. Does anybody have any other questions before we jump off?
I just had one question about when you talk with the sellers about where they're moving to. If they're moving out of state, so in that situation, you might not be licensed or have knowledge of what they're moving to. How do you normally handle those types of calls?
Yep. Kind of the same thing as the spouse. Oh, that's exciting. You're moving to Nashville. What I like to do when people are relocating is I kind of act as a relocation liaison. I'm going to interview that other agent, no cost to you. I'm going to find an agent to help you start to search in that city. And the three of us are going to jump on a call together. You see what I'm doing? I'm becoming a part of the selection committee. It's legit. It works really, really well. They're grateful, by the way. And you get a referral fee.
Okay. Yeah, because we might ask questions that they might not.
You're definitely going to ask questions that they might not. You know a good realtor when you see one, right? The consumer is going to go to Zillow, and whoever has the most reviews in America, they're going to pick. But we both know that if John Smith agent has 6,000 five-star reviews, been in the business 25 years, we both know what's going to happen if she calls that agent. He's not working with them. It's going to be somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're going to do is you're going to go through that process and you're going to navigate it for them. That's incredibly valuable. But what you guys are seeing is a theme. You're seeing a theme. I'm always advocating to press into the objection and become a part of their solution. And if you think about it, it just makes sense. They're going to value you now, not because you say to them, I'm valuable, which is what most of us do. I'm valuable. Use me. I got lots of experience. We act valuable, right? We block and tackle the problems. We solve their issues. We become, my first team I built was called the Friends in Real Estate team. And the reason why I called it that, I wanted my agents to work with their clients the way that you would work with a friend at a barbecue. The way that you would be like, no, don't do this one. Do this one, right? Don't go there. Go here. You got to check them out. It's way better, way cheaper. I want that vibe for my agents, and I want that for you guys. Was there somebody else that had a question before we jump off?
Yeah, Barry, I had a question regarding long-term leads.
Okay.
Leads that are 2 to 3 years out. How often do you touch them and give them a call? And how do you handle, they're long-term leads. So, I try to call them maybe once every 2-3 months. And then they don't pick up, and then you forget about them, and then you call them 6 months from now and they forget about you. How do you handle
Yeah, you need to have a value-based trip. Cold for my team is 6 to 12 months. Anything longer than 12 months, I normally but I've got a big team, so like it's different as a solo agent. Like I would nurture something for 2 years if I was a solo agent. And we do every 45 to 60 days. We have a list in our CRM that shows last communication greater than 45 days. And when you contact them, you always have a reason and something valuable. A blog article, market update, anything. Happy New Year. Like you can inject that a little bit, but never a how you doing, checking on you. The reason why we avoid the checking on you statements is because when you do that, you are burdening the consumer with having clarity on what their needs are. And that's why they never call you back. But if you call them and say, hey, I saw an article on home selling that I thought would be relevant for you. Let me know if you want me to text it or email it. Like, and then they say text. Let's say this is via text message. Okay, great. When do you have 5 minutes to discuss it, right? So it always leads back to a conversation. This works really well.
Every 45 days, you're saying?
Yeah, 45 to 60 days, have something of value to send to them. And if they respond, ask if they have 5 minutes to discuss it. And then all they have to do is call and say, yeah, you wanted to talk about that thing? Think about how different that is from their perspective than you saying, hey, do you have any questions about the process? Like then they got to think, do I have any questions? They don't want to think. They want to be served.
Do you say, give me a call if you want to discuss it, or do you say, give me a call, let's discuss it?
If I call them and they don't answer, and my voicemail is, I have a thing for you, let me know how you want me to deliver it to you. I have an article or a listing. Like if I text it, I have a thing for you. Do you want me to text it or email it? If I email it, like I always want to say I have something, and then do you want me to send it? Unless it's like Happy New Year, or I just want to send out a mass email about the local market. Outside of like that would be the exception. Everything else is trying to segue into just deepening the relationship, because they are going to forget who you are.
Okay.
As unforgettable as you are, they're going to forget who you are.
Yeah, but Go High Level doesn't give you those 45-day notifications, right? I guess it's a difference.
What about tasks? Any tasks? Can you create tasks?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can create tasks. Yes.
Yeah, just do that.